All right, so we're coming to the mat in bound angle pose. So to get there, you can just sit down on your butt, grab a pillow if you want. Also bring a couple blocks. We're gonna go into a supported fish pose at the end, so you'll need those for that. And then there's a couple of opportunities to use them. So just make sure they're nearby. Coming onto the back in your bound angle pose, bringing the soles of the feet together, letting the knees fall apart, and maybe just resting the hands at the heart space or anywhere on the body that feels right. Start to drop in, start to notice how you feel, checking in with the physical body, the intellectual body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. And when we're talking about chakral alignment or checking in with the chakras, we are talking about the energetic body or astral body. That's what we're paying close attention to, giving some care to with this chakra series. Just bringing your energy into alignment with your goals, with your higher self. Start to connect with the mat and deepen the breath a bit. Noticing your natural breathing rhythm. If you want to employ a mantra for today's practice, it might be something like, I am open to giving and receiving love. And I recognize the oneness, the non-duality of all living beings. Something like that. When we're focusing on the heart chakra, Anahata, we're focusing on non-attachment, healthy love, the ability to express gratitude, the ability to let go when challenges arise in relationships, things of that nature. So start to settle in, maybe start to notice the heartbeat. We also just want to notice how open we are through the chest throughout the practice. Take your time to start building this little space for yourself, your little bubble of grace. Allow yourself just to be present on the mat and in your body. And to let go of any thoughts that aren't serving you. Take your time here, maybe do a quick scan of the body. Just taking an inventory of what you feel and where. Observing without judgment. Start to imagine that color green associated with the heart chakra, the element of air. And we're going to help align the energetic body to help you manifest healthier relationships, healthy love. And that all begins with the self, just like any kind of transformative change. So turn inward. Notice how you receive the information I'm giving you about the heart chakra. Notice if you have any hesitation, anything keeping you from opening your heart and opening your mind. Sink into your body, feel supported by the earth. Give yourself this space to just be for a few cycles of breath.
When you're ready to incorporate movement, we are going to come into tabletop to start with some cat-cow. So you can get there however you get there. I'm going to start by using my hands to gently guide the knees back together. And then my favorite way to move up to sitting is by rocking and rolling up the spine. Feel free to try it a couple times. If you don't make it the first time, no harm there. And then crossing at the ankles, you can come forward onto all fours. You know what to do in cat-cow, so feel free to make it your own, move organically. But if you need cues, we'll start by putting the knees under the hips. Palms are aligned under the shoulders. And then syncing up with the breath, we'll inhale, drop the belly and the low ribs, opening up the chest, lifting the gaze, bringing your tail toward the ceiling. And then exhaling, curling the low ribs inward, pressing away from the mat, doming through the upper back. Exploring your whole range, syncing up with your natural breathing rhythm. Move with the breath. Be curious in your body. Start waking up through the spine. And as always, feel free to get a little weird with it. Drawing circles with the ribs or the hips. Letting your body be your cue for what movement you take next from this position. So just let the body guide you. Go with what you feel, essentially. Explore your full range of motion. Checking in with the spine, with the side body, with the breath. And then coming back to tabletop when you're ready. Take your time getting there. And we're going to start with our first big chest opener by coming into puppy pose. So from tabletop, we'll walk the hands forward and outward just a bit, kind of toward the top corners of the mat. Hands are a little wider than the shoulders. And then we're going to drop the ribs down toward the mat. Walking the hands forward if you need to. You can bring your forehead to the mat and just press the chest down or relax. Or you can bring your chin to the mat and same thing, pressing the chest down. Nice and passive through the belly, through the abdominal wall, if it feels good. Allowing the shoulders and chest just to open. Relaxing into this pose, inviting that open heart. This is a safe space. Let your body know it's okay to relax. And as always in this pose, if you want to make it more active, just engage the lower abdominals. Pressing them up toward the low back, supporting the low back, pressing the armpits down toward the mat. Take some deep breaths here. Find what works for you. When you're ready to come out, we'll bring the palms back under the shoulders to press up for tabletop, and then we are going to move into our first downward dog of the day at your pace. So take your time getting there. When you're ready, you'll curl the toes under, press onto the balls of the feet, lift the hips toward the ceiling, relax through the head and neck. Bring the heels toward the mat, but they don't need to touch. Feel free to bend into the knees, find that flat back position if you need to. Feel free to also pedal through the feet or press one heel down then the other. Just noticing what you feel with different types of movement and being curious in your body. From here, we're gonna move into a low lunge. So we'll start by planting that left foot, sliding the right one all the way up toward the ceiling. First three-legged dog of the day, really reaching. Notice what you feel. Bend into that right knee, bring that right foot all the way up and through. So we're planting that right foot, framing it with both hands. We're gonna gently lower that left knee to the mat, uncurl the left toes. Coming up for your low lunge. There's a couple of variations here. You can interlace your fingertips and let your hands rest on top of that right knee, sitting down deeply into that lunge. You can also just keep that left hand where it is, reach the right arm all the way up and over toward the left, pressing that right hip to the right side of the mat, noticing what you feel, maybe pulling that right shoulder back, lifting the gaze. Connecting with the heart space. And then bringing that right arm back down to the top of the right knee. We'll frame that right foot once again. Curl the left toes under, lift that left knee, send the right foot back for plank. And then we'll slowly lower from here to the belly for cobra or upward facing dog. Whatever's in your practice, whatever you prefer. Really opening up through the chest, rolling the shoulders back, letting your heart shine forward. Come from here back into your downward dog, curl the toes under, hips up high and back. Again, feel free to explore by bending into the knees or into the ankles, noticing what you feel, being curious in your body. For the second side, we'll plant that right foot, slide that left foot all the way up toward the ceiling, really reaching. Lift the gaze to between the palms, bend into that left knee, bring that left foot all the way up and through. Framing it with both hands, lower that right knee, uncurl the right toes. Maybe interlacing the hands, bringing them to the top of that left knee. Sinking down into that low lunge on the second side, just noticing what you feel. Starting to open up through the hips. Maybe keeping the left hand where it is. Keeping the right hand where it is. Bringing that left hand all the way up and over toward the right side of the mat. Sinking down into both hips. Pulling that left shoulder back, lifting the gaze toward the ceiling. And then returning that left hand to the top of the left knee. And we'll frame that left foot with both hands. Curl the right toes under to lift that right knee. Send the left foot back for plank. And we'll vinyasa. So from plank, slowly lower to cobra or upward facing dog. Letting that heart shine forward, leading with love, and then sending the hips up high and back for downward dog. Take a second, catch your breath. Reflect on your gratitude and non-attachment. Feel free to pedal through the feet if it feels good. When you're ready, we'll plant that left foot, bring that right foot up high. One more time, really reaching. Lift the gaze to between the palms, bend into that right knee, bring that right foot all the way up and through. Framing it with both hands. This time we'll stay lifted in the back knee. Hinging at the hips, bring the gaze forward, coming all the way up to high lunge. So deep bend in that right knee, you're staying nice and low there. Maybe bringing hands together at the heart for prayer. Staying connected with the heart space, the heart chakra, keeping that in your vision. Okay, so from here we're going to bring the left hand to the top of the left knee. We're just going to open up that right palm. I'm sending my arm forward first and then opening up to the right. So you're going twisting toward the right, keeping your base where it is, keeping your feet planted, staying really low in that right knee, just pulling that right shoulder open, opening up through the chest and heart space. Notice what you feel, find your balance, find your focus. And when you're ready, we'll move slowly, mindfully, with control to come back through center into that high lunge. We're gonna bring palms down to frame that right foot. Send that right foot back for plank. Slowly lower to the belly for cobra or upward dog, whatever you prefer. Melt it back down, curl the toes under, coming back up to plank and back up to downward dog. Take a second, catch your breath. Notice how you feel. Let go of any thoughts that are not serving you here. Stay present. If you lose focus, come back to the breath. All right, we're ready for the second side. So we'll plant that right foot, lift that left leg up high, really reaching. Lifting the gaze to between the palms, bending that left knee, bringing that left foot all the way up and through. Keeping that right knee raised. We'll hinge at the hips to come up into your high lunge, prayer hands at the heart space. Just taking this time to get nice and low in that left knee. Settling in, building strength. Bring that right hand to the outside edge of the left knee, left arm forward, and then open it up to the left side. So big twist. Just checking in with your range, noticing where you are, noticing what you feel. Finding your focal point, finding balance, connecting with the breath. When you feel satisfied, slowly, gently, mindfully bring it back through center, coming back into that high lunge. We'll frame that left foot, send it back for plank. Slowly lowering to the belly, pressing up for cobra or upward facing dog. You choose. And then before we transition back to downward dog, we'll take a quick bow practice here. So as you lower to the belly, bend into both knees, bring the hands to the outside edges of the feet. And very quickly, creating that intra-abdominal pressure, we'll press up, press the hands into the feet away from the body, creating that strength in the abdominal wall, and releasing when you're ready. Coming back to the mat, unraveling, bringing palms under the shoulders. We'll curl the toes under again, press up to plank, and then send the hips up for downward dog. Take a second here, relax through the head and neck, catch your breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to imagine there's a tight rope down the middle of your mat. And we'll just gently walk the feet up that tight rope toward the top edge of the mat into our standing forward fold. Take your time getting there. Moving mindfully with control. Bringing the feet to about hip width apart. Full extension at the knees. Full relaxation through the head, the neck, the shoulders. Take a deep breath. Let something go. Take a few minutes here if you want to just sway gently left to right. Give yourself whatever your body is asking for here. There's lots of different variations you can take in standing forward fold. Feel free to explore. Remind your body it's okay to relax. Wherever you are, bring your fingertips back to the mat, coming to that top edge of the mat. We're going to gently start curling up to mountain pose by digging in, pressing down through the heels, really rooting down through the feet, and then slowly dragging the fingertips along the front edge of the body as you curl up through the spine, one vertebra at a time, all the way up to standing. Slowly, 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 coming all the way up, rolling the shoulders back, opening up through the chest, and then finally lifting the fingertips up toward the ceiling, up toward one another, taking up space, getting really long, bringing the palms back down to the chest for prayer hands. Take a second, take a deep breath. And then from here, we'll gently keep the palms together, send the arms forward. We'll once again open up to the left just by bringing that left palm outward and behind you. Just checking out your range in the chest, keeping your feet planted. Bringing that left hand back to the center to meet the right, and then sending the right palm open to the other side. So just opening up through the chest, checking out your range. Bringing it back through center. Let's drop the hands, and then just to lift up, fingertips back toward the ceiling, really reaching. Palms come together in prayer hands, and then we'll slice it down the middle, coming back into your standing forward fold. Moving mindfully at your own pace. From that forward fold, we're going to plant the palms, plant the fingers, fingertips, and then step or hop the feet back for your plank pose. From here, we're going to come into a wild thing pose, which is a big chest opener. I'm going to talk you through it, and we're just going to go really slowly. But from this plank, we're going to lift that right foot up and behind us, and then lifting that right palm to kind of open up toward the ceiling for wild thing or rock star. So I'll demo that again. From plank, hips are nice and low. You can come onto the outside edge of the left foot and stack first if you want, or just bring that right foot behind you, plant it, opening up through the chest, sinking all your weight into that left hand, left arm, and then bringing it back through center when you're ready. So take a couple minutes here to practice. When you feel good on that side, we'll do the same thing on the second side. Coming into plank, bringing that left foot behind you. Left arm goes up and over, chest toward the ceiling, really opening up. And then bringing it all back through center when you're ready. Take your time, try it again. If you're unsuccessful, get some practice in. Notice what you feel. And bring it back to that nice strong plank when you're ready. From here, we're going to slowly lower to the knees. Bring the big toes into touch. Open up the knees as wide as the mat or as wide as is comfortable. And then send the hips back toward the heels, chest toward the mat, forehead toward the mat for extended child's pose. Catch your breath. Maybe roll the forehead gently from side to side, massaging through the sinus cavity. Nice and open through the chest, reconnecting with that heart space, noticing what you feel. Taking this time just to be present, just to observe. Remember, you are capable of giving and receiving love. You are worthy of love, even from the self. And self-love is something we should all prioritize. Take a few more deep cycles of breath in extended child's pose. When you're ready to come out, we'll do so slowly, gently, and mindfully, moving at your own pace, but bringing the palms under the shoulder first to push you back up to tabletop. Bringing the knees under the hips. And from tabletop, we're going to try camel pose. So from here, extend through the feet and ankles. We're going to come up onto the knees. If your yoga blocks are nearby and camel is not part of your regular practice, it's not for mine, you might want to grab the blocks and just keep them set up to in the outside edges of your feet, at the outside edges of your feet. So to come into camel pose, we first need to prioritize opening up the chest space. That's why it's incorporated here. And we can do that by bringing the palms to the low back, maybe interlacing the fingers, just starting to pull the shoulders back, pulling the elbows toward one another, and then finding that mini back bend, really pressing the chest up toward the ceiling, opening up through the heart space. And then when you find that little back bend, maybe dropping the hands to your blocks behind you, bringing the shoulder blades toward one another, just lifting the chin and the chest toward the ceiling. So you can adjust your yoga blocks as needed. If you need them on the highest setting, that's totally okay. Bringing the shoulder blades together behind you, rolling the shoulders back, opening up through the chest. Relax through the head and neck, connect with the breath. And when you're ready to transition out, start by engaging the abdominals to pull yourself up, back to that kneeling position. So feel free to practice that some more if you want to. If you're ready to move on, you can cross at the ankles, come back onto the hips. And we're just gonna sit in staff pose for a moment, which is just legs out long, nice long spine. Think about trying to have really good posture from the hips up, elongating through the spine, tucking the chin a little bit, bringing the palms next to the hips on the mat, fingertips facing forward, toes facing the ceiling. And in this power pose, we'll start to reconnect with the breath. Think about that heart space just shining forward, opening up the heart spiritually, energetically, opening up the chest physically, literally. Remember, this is your space that you created for yourself with love, so enjoy it, relax, and be present. So connecting with some deep breaths all the way down into the hips. Notice how that feels. To the chest, to the shoulders, staying nice and open. And just noticing how that affects your natural breathing rhythm. When you're ready to transition, we're going to come into supported fish pose. If fish is part of your practice and you want to do it unsupported, please feel free.
Otherwise, from this nice strong staff pose, we're gonna grab our yoga blocks and get them set up behind us so that your first yoga block will be in the long way, along the length of your spine. So just above where your hips are, beginning at the low back. You want it to land kind of in your low to mid back when you start to lay back. And then the second block will set up on the same edge, so they're at the same height, but they're kind of in a T shape, separated T shape. So this one is going to support my head. Feel free to guess where that might go and definitely adjust if you need to. Walking back onto these blocks, I like to grab this long ways block behind me and just as I recline, kind of center it in the back between the shoulder blades where it is most supportive and comfortable. And then releasing the hands to bring the other block just under the head so that you can eventually open up the shoulders, open up the palms toward the ceiling, and just relax. So take your time, adjust your blocks, find what feels the most supportive. It should not hurt. The blocks should not hurt. So if they do, feel free to adjust a little bit. Relax the body a little bit more. And as always, close your eyes anytime it feels good. Opening up through the heart space. Really putting that heart space on full display, pulling the shoulders back. Nice and open through the chest, connecting deeply with the breath. And maybe letting something go on your exhale. Feel free to stay here in this pose. I'm going to articulate a variation of this pose, but you can stay where you are as you listen. To come out, I'm going to use my elbows and my fingertips to press back up to staff. If you want to engage the lower body in this pose, you could do a hero variation here. So instead of the legs being out long, if it's not too much on your knees, you can kind of tuck the heels in on either side of the body toward the hips. Find that nice solid base, getting rooted down through the mat, and then again recline into fish. So this is just another variation of supported fish pose. That might feel good, but do what's right for your body today. If you are in this half hero variation, your feet are accessible, so feel free to interact with the feet a bit here. I always like to just rest my hands on my feet or just feel the warmth of my hands through the feet. Maybe give a little massage, whatever you like. It's about self-love. Take your time here in this pose. Let your thoughts clear like clouds in the sky. Again, practicing gratitude, but practicing non-attachment to the things that we love. Reconnect with the breath. And when you're ready to transition out, we'll do so slowly, gently, and mindfully. Again, pressing into the elbows or the fingertips. You can also roll to the left or to the right to help you get out safely without too much resistance from the body. From here, we're gonna extend through the legs if you're not there already. We can remove the yoga blocks if you haven't already. And then we're just gonna come to the back for some bridge practice. Reconnecting with that chest opening through the heart space. So come to the back, slowly, gently, mindfully, however you do. Once there, we're going to bring the soles of the feet to the mat, bend into the knees. Walk the heels up toward the hips. To begin, we'll just open up the palms, and we're going to start by pressing into the heels to slowly lift the hips toward the ceiling. Do that slowly, mindfully. Feel that articulation, observe and notice. And then from here, you might bring the palms together, interlace the fingers, walk the shoulder blades toward one another. And this is really similar to what you were doing in camel pose. So if camel pose was very difficult, bridge might be a good place to start that practice. So from this static hold, you can sync up with the breath and make this more dynamic by slowly lowering the hips to the mat. On your exhale, inhaling, raise the hips toward the ceiling. Maybe interlacing, finding that chest opener, or maybe just keeping the palms open toward the ceiling. So feel free to explore. You can sync up with the breath if you choose to. You can find that static hold if you choose to. Either way, next time you're at the top of your bridge, let's reconnect with the chest area, the heart space here. So you can start by raising the chin toward the ceiling and then lifting the chest to meet the chin. And that'll bring you to a fuller extension through the hips. Really opening through the heart space. And when you're ready, slowly, gently lower the hips down to the mat. Release your bind in the hands if you have one. We're going to send the legs out long. And we're going to roll onto the belly for our gentle chest opener. So go ahead and get there. How you get there. Before we do our final chest stretch, if you want to take another quick bow practice here, you might have a little more range than you did earlier. So to do that, just bend into both knees. Bring your hands to the outside edges of the feet. Create that intra-abdominal pressure and then press your feet up and away from the body into the hands. Hands are pulling the feet. Find that resistance, building strength. Opening up through the chest, maybe lifting the gaze. Remembering your mantra. Slowly, gently releasing everything to the mat. Coming back onto the belly, maybe setting up in Sphinx on your forearms. We'll start by bringing that left arm to the outside edge of the left side of the mat. And then we're going to use that right hand under the right shoulder just to guide the hips, ankles, and knees into a stacked position. So staying on those right fingertips, you can press in gently or just relax here depending on the level of engagement you're looking for through the chest. Stay connected with the breath. Notice what you feel. Allowing that heart space just to open up metaphorically and physically. Just imagining that soft green glow of energy. And
Remember, if you need more intensity or deeper stretch in this pose, you can always lift that top foot from the stack and set it behind you, sort of like we did in Wild Thing. So let the sensation be your guide. Listen to your body. Take your time here. And when you're ready to switch sides, we'll start by extending the legs out long, rolling onto the belly, maybe coming back into that Sphinx, resetting the forearms, palms down. And then this time we'll set the right hand to the outside edge of the right side of the mat, bringing the left hand under the left shoulder, just to guide you up onto that right hip, stacking the knees, the hips, the ankles. Taking any variation that feels right. Reconnecting with the breath, remembering your mantra. And when you're ready, slowly extending through the legs, moving at your own pace. We'll come out of that pose and then we're coming right back onto the belly, onto the back, sorry. So get there however you get there. Feel free to grab your pillow if you want to. We're gonna come back into that reclined bound angle pose that we started in. Just bringing the soles of the feet together, letting the knees fall apart. Relaxing through the rest of the body, maybe bringing palms to rest gently at the heart space or anywhere else that feels right. Reconnecting with the breath. Settling back in, feeling the support of the mat. Absorbing the nutrients of your practice. Enveloping yourself in that soft green glow. Staying present, letting go of anything that's not serving you. Focusing on the sound of the breath. When you're ready, you can use the fingertips to gently guide the knees back toward one another. Extending through both legs, coming into Shavasana, our final resting pose. I always encourage you to spend at least 5 or 10 minutes in Shavasana at the end of every practice, just allowing yourself that space. An act of self-love, you might even call it. And on that note, it's important to remember that self-love is a radical act of resistance. Remember, you can't take care of your family, your community, if you can't take care of yourself first. So take this time, let the sound of your breath recharge you, refill your cup. Remember, you are worthy of love. You can give and receive love freely. And we can recognize the oneness, the non-duality of all living beings. So the love you give to another is not wasted. It moves in continuum. Before we close this practice, I want to recognize that the land from which I am teaching is formerly Monongahela, Osage, and Erie lands. We recognize and honor the sacrifices of the indigenous peoples that occupied this space before us. We honor them and also recognize that their struggles are ongoing and that there's lots of opportunity for us to participate and support. In closing this practice, I'm going to bring my palms together to rest gently at the forehead or third eye. Feel free to join me if it feels right. We also like to recognize that yoga is an ancient spiritual practice tied to the subcontinent of India and Indian culture. So we respect and honor that cultural heritage. We also recognize that yoga has many functions for many different peoples. For us, yoga is a community. I thank you so much for being part of my community today. I hope you got what you needed here today, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.